Hey everybody, this is Matt from Crooked Pigs Barbecue. It's late October, we're filming this video, and I don't know about you, but Thanksgiving's coming up, and when I think about Thanksgiving, I think about getting my barbecues out and doing some backyard Thanksgiving. One thing I like to do is get some things out onto the smoker to free up some oven space in the kitchen. And so I'll definitely try to figure out how many different things I can cook outside to free up space for rolls and pies and other sorts of things I'm going to cook inside. But the other thing I like to do to prepare for Thanksgiving is get some stuff out of the way that I can get done early. And this video we're going to do today is one of those things. In order to make my turkey dressing or stuffing, whatever you call it, and make enough gravy for the whole crowd, I like to make some turkey stock ahead of time. And one other thing I like to do is use some of my leftover chicken that I don't select to take to a comp, and cut my turkey down with that and use some of that leftover chicken in the stock. The turkey, the chicken, the flavor's a little different, but not really noticeable if you mix the two. And especially if you're using your Thanksgiving herbs, your thyme and your sage in that stock, you won't notice the difference, and it's a good way to get rid of some of that extra chicken you've got kicking around that either you didn't get to trim in before it needed to be frozen, or weren't the appropriate sizes and shapes to use for competition. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a smoked turkey chicken stock, and we'll talk in a future video about how to turn that into some gravy for Thanksgiving Day. So the first thing we've got is some chicken legs that I bought and did not use at comp. A couple of Foster Farms legs. We got one package of Heritage Farm thighs, and I also have some turkey wings. Like I said, it's late October. I like to use turkey necks if I can sometimes. Turkey wings are fine as well, but I prefer turkey necks if I can get them. We went to a few grocery stores, no necks yet. So it might be a little early for that, but in the next week or two, the butchers were talking like they should be in any day now. So in the next week or two, that still gives you plenty of time to get that turkey stock done ahead of time. So I make a lot of this stock, and traditionally people make a stock, they'll do their mirepoix, they'll take their chicken, their turkey, their beef, whatever kind of stock you're making, and they'll just boil it for hours on a really slow boil. And it takes hours and hours to develop the flavor you want, but on a smoker you can make this happen a whole lot faster. So what we're going to do is we're going to roast the vegetables, the herbs, and the meat all together in a roasting pan on the smoker, and we're going to roast that until it develops a really nice flavor, until it gets a nice dark color, and it's starting to break apart and break the collagen down into gelatin. At that point, then we'll bring it in and we'll put it in a stock pot and we'll finish boiling. So let's show you what we're going to do. First of all, I'm going to prep my mirepoix. I'm taking a shortcut on this. I just buy the carrots, these baby carrots, the way they come in the bag. They're ready to go. No chop, no mess, no hassle. So I'll do 2 bags for my 2 things of stock. I've got a couple of sweet yellow onions here that I'm going to chop, but I'm just going to chop them roughly. Again, we're making a stock. We're going to run this through a strainer and take out any and all chunks and pieces and make it velvety smooth, maybe even a coffee filter if that's what you prefer. So it doesn't matter to me really that there's any skins on these onions. I'm not going to go to the trouble to finely dice them. What I'm going to do is cut off the root end here, just like that on both. And that's all I'm going to take off. We're going to use the rest of this for our stock. So I may take the outer layer of paper off because I've got a sticker here, as you can see. And sometimes they're just a little dirty. But if you take this outer layer off, there's not really even any need to wash it. So I will take the outer layer off these onions, set those aside, and then I'll just do a nice fine chop. That's about good enough on that one. Sometimes it helps a little if you cut the top off. All right. This onion's kind of giving me a hassle. All right. Good enough. Leave it like that. Clean the board off with some of that onion paper, and we'll just discard that. That could go right in your stock though, it wouldn't matter because it's all coming out. So I'm just gonna do a nice coarse chop on these. Just like this. That's all I'm gonna do. I'm not even gonna cut it down any more than that. It's not gonna matter. In fact, I'd kind of like the onions to stay a little bit bigger because we're going to roast this all at the same time as the meat. The meat's gonna take a little longer, so the onion can stay bigger so it kind of cooks a little more evenly. And that's one. Gonna take the other one, cut it down. All right, now, here's the roasting pan we're gonna use. I'm just gonna use a disposable one. This is gonna bake on really, really hard in here, and we're going to wanna scrape up some of the fond that's left at the bottom of this pan after we put it on the smoker, but they're really hard to clean afterwards. So I don't see any reason to use a reusable roaster. I just use the disposable ones and toss them when I'm done. You could use a reusable one if that's all you've got, but just make sure that it's oven safe, that it's not an oven top one, that all the handles are good to roast in the smoker. So I'm gonna spray this down with just some canola oil spray, just to help us make sure we keep as much of that fond as possible. You could also grease it with butter, spray duck fat in there, whatever you want, just grease that down real good. And we're going to go ahead and drop our onions in here. All right, now that I think about it, I'm doing 2 of these. Got another roaster here. I'm gonna spray down. We got a big crowd coming, and really, I mean, you roast 1 turkey, you might have enough gravy for a couple of people, but when you're doing a crowd and you're going to try to give everyone enough gravy and not have to feel like, I mean, it's Thanksgiving. You want to use a lot of gravy if you want to. It's that special day. You need to have a lot of stock to make a lot of gravy. So this is just gonna really help you out to have this done early on. All right, so I evenly divided those onions, or thereabouts, into my pans. And we're gonna pour a pound bag of baby carrots in there, in each one. All right, ready to rock on those. Stack these and set them aside. Now the last component of a mirepoix is obviously the celery. So onions, carrots, celery. Again, you can use almost all of this celery because it's going in your stock and you're gonna strain it when you're done. So I'll kind of cut off the root end there, pull out a few of these leaves maybe. Set those aside, and that's good. Now I'm just gonna chop it up in half, just like that. And I've got my pans, and I'll put half in each pan. All right, so looks like this. That's the mirepoix. I like to add one other component to my mirepoix that just makes it gives it a little more velvety texture, I think, to the stock. It also sweetens it up a little and just gives you a little more of that sweet, salty flavor that everybody likes so much. So it's not just umami, not just salty and savory, but you also get some sweetness. And that's to add some apples. So I've got a couple apples here that I just had, and I'm just gonna quarter these up or so and throw them in with the mirepoix and let those cook down in the stock. So let me show you how I'm gonna do that. I just cut them off the core like this. This is one fruit that you probably don't want to throw the core in. Apple seeds have a little bit of, I believe, cyanide in them. It's not enough to really harm you, but I don't like to eat the apple core or the seeds, so I leave them out. So just kind of coarsely chop those. All right, we're gonna take some of each and put them into each roasting pan. All right, ready to rock. Okay, now I'm going to do a little housekeeping, clean up my mirepoix and vegetables, and we're going to get onto the turkey and the chicken. I'm going to show you what I do with that, and then we will season this and get it on the smoker and be ready to rock. So we'll be right back. Again, we're doing the Thanksgiving turkey and chicken stock that we're going to use for gravy and turkey dressing and whatever else you might need it for on Thanksgiving. I like to make this ahead. We've already done the mirepoix. Now I'm back here with some turkey wings. As I mentioned before, I sometimes like to use turkey necks. If I can get them. If I have turkey necks, I will cut those into segments and throw them into the roaster. Here I've got wings. They just require a little more breakdown, but they also make a pretty velvety stock. There's lots of collagen and connective tissue in these. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slice that skin that holds right here, that webbing right there. I'm gonna slice through that. And that's gonna allow me to get in there and kind of try to break it down some. A lot of times you can almost break those apart with your bare hands. At least expose that joint. This one's a little tougher, so a bigger wing. Okay, and so when you get that open like that, all you have to do is run your knife straight through that, and it breaks it apart, right? And I just like to break that down because it helps it to develop better in the stock and faster. I mean, you don't have to cook it as long if you're able to break these down some and do some of the work before the heat does it for you. It just makes it faster. You're able to develop more flavor in less time. And after all, Thanksgiving, that's what we're most concerned about, is flavor. So, this one's given me a little bit of a harder time, but you might have to tap the top of your knife and get through there. And we did. And just a little more skin will be through. Okay, so now I've broken that down into the drumette, the flat, and the tip there on that wing. This one we got the drumette, and we've got the flattened tip. So I'll just try to break this one down as well. Try to dislocate that joint and run your knife through it, which we've done now. And we got flat tip and drumette. All right, so that's what I do for the turkey. Now, as I mentioned, I like to use some of my leftover chicken that I have not cooked, not selected for competition, or maybe I bought intending to trim and am not using. So here I've got some legs. Look, you could try to break these down. It's pretty hard to get through that bone, but if you had the right set of shears, you could. I'm just gonna leave them the way they are. So I've got a whole bunch of these legs, and I'm gonna make a whole bunch of stock. I've got 2 pans. So I've got maybe three full packages like this. One package of thighs, 1 package of legs. So I'm just showing you what the legs look like. Here's the thighs. Just gonna go ahead and pull these out of here. Get those ready to go. Just there's one so you can see. All right, and so I'm just gonna fill my roasters with some of each. I'm gonna put some turkey in each, some chicken in each, and we're gonna get it rolling on the smoker here in just a moment. So we'll be right back when I've got that full. All right, we're back. I've got the roasting pans loaded up with my mirepoix and my chicken and turkey parts. We had enough legs that I didn't have to tap into the thighs, so there's no need to do that. I've got them full, but now I'm going to show you exactly how I season this particular chicken stock. Now I mentioned this is for Thanksgiving that's coming up, so I will use some Thanksgiving herbs, but you don't have to. Have fun. Do whatever barbecue rubs you want, whatever seasonings you like. Garlic, salt and pepper are good places to start. Onion powder is a good place to start. We've already got some onions in there, but I'm going to start with some garlic, some whole garlic. So I'll show you how I chop that for my turkey stock here. So I just, again, coarsely chop this. It's not like we're going to eat the paper on the garlic. We're just making the stock. It's all going to strain out. So I've got 2 pans. So I'm just going to take this whole head of garlic. I'm going to cut it in half that way. Maybe pull a little loose paper off. And I'm just going to cut it in half the other way. All right, maybe cut that root end off just a little, if I can get my knife through it. All right, same on this one. No need to be precise here. Again, we're making stock, so it's not like we're prepping this to put in some finished table product. All right, now we've kind of got those separated, so I'm just gonna smash them a little. That's just gonna release a little bit of the oils and fats inside that. And I'm just gonna put that right into one of those. All right, I make a mess here with that garlic paper, but it's out of the way now. All right, so I'll smash this last one just a little. Just a little. And we'll throw that one into this roaster. All right, so let me show you how those roasters look. Get this out of the way. All right, so here's the roasters with the chicken and the garlic in it. Now, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put some herbs in it. Now, I like, oop, there's one stray clove. All right, oh, clean the board. Get this out of the way. So, I do like to cook my, my stock with some Thanksgiving herbs. Usually I like thyme and sage. That's a minimum. You can add tarragon, you can do some rosemary, whatever suits you, whatever's tradition in your family, in your area for Thanksgiving. But certainly thyme and sage are a must in this particular stock if you're going to make gravy out of it. If you want it to be more versatile, you don't want to use these herbs necessarily. You can if you want, or you can simply leave it with the garlic and the mirepoix. I'm going to use sage and thyme. However, if too much sage, too much thyme will start to turn your stock green. And so I like to add that towards the end. And but I will put a little in the beginning. So we're going to hit a little sage. The thyme, it doesn't so much. It's mostly the sage that really gets your stock going green. So I will just take about that much sage for each of those roasters. All right, and if you're doing one roaster, just one. And these are all really forgiving measurements. It's kind of whatever suits you and whatever you happen to have around. You can, you know, add more onion and celery and carrots, and you can add more or less chicken. Whatever you've got, whatever you want to use, just add it. So here's some thyme. I'm going to do the same thing. Oh, it already smells like Thanksgiving in here, I'll tell you what. All right, so about that much. That's all we need. So we're going to go ahead and take our roasters. We're gonna add some more of that later on once we get it boiling in the house. But right now I'm just gonna throw one of those on each. Grab my other roaster. Throw those on. All right, that's ready to rock. Now just one last thing we're gonna do to these roasters before we throw them on the smoker. And that's we're gonna season them. So what I like to use is an all-purpose barbecue seasoning. You don't even have to use barbecue seasoning. You can use salt, pepper, garlic salt, seasoned salt, what have you. You can throw some hot sauce in here. You can throw some lemon juice in here. There's a number of different things you can do to season this, but what I'm gonna use today is Heath Ryle's garlic jalapeno rub. This is one of my favorite rubs. It's kind of an all-purpose rub. It gives it a little bit of kick. It's not really too spicy. It's not going to light you up, especially after we've made this into stock. You're really not going to pick up a lot of that heat coming through. In fact, you'll want to re-season this stock towards the end. Now, the problem with seasoning a stock is we're going to be roasting this, then putting it in water and reducing it. So when we reduce it, the salt that's in the stock is going to reduce. It's going to get saltier and saltier and saltier as it reduces. So you have to be careful not to over season it, but we definitely do want to season it some while we roast it. So I'm gonna open it up and I'm just gonna do a nice light coat on here. And there's more than just salt in here, so it's okay to be a little bit liberal with it. So I'm just gonna season it about like that. And keep in mind, you can do multiple seasoning dumps on this. So you can go a little light right now, and once you take this out of the smoker, put it into your stock pot and starts reducing, you can start to season it later, and that has a couple of advantages. One, you know that you're not over seasoning your stock, so it's not too salty, and two, some of the seasoning, it has a little more pop and is a little fresher when you put it in later in the process. So this is ready to go. I'm just gonna do one last thing. I'm gonna hit it with some canola oil on top just to help it brown a little. So we're gonna spray the top of that with a little canola oil. You could use spray butter, you could use real butter, you could use duck fat, whatever you've got. Avocado oil is one of my favorites. But that's ready to go, so we're gonna get this on the smoker and we'll see you in just a moment. Okay, we're back. We've got our turkey and chicken stock ready to go on the smoker. I'll let you see what's going on here. I've got it set at 250. We're gonna let it go for a few hours and just check it for color and doneness. It's not too precise. Just as soon as you think that you want to put it in your stock pot, you can. But we're gonna come back and check a couple hours, show you what it looks like. All right, we're back here. It's been about 3.5 hours. I've had the roasting pans full of the mirepoix, the seasonings, and the chicken and turkey parts on the smoker. Now we've got a nice color on it. I'll let our cameraman here zoom down and you can see the color on this chicken. That's about how I like it. You can see that the vegetables have kind of given up some of their moisture. and there's some good liquid in the bottom. That's our liquid gold right here. That's gonna be what makes our gravy. But this is just the start. But that's how we've developed the flavor here. That's gonna be the real base of the complex flavors that we've got developed here for our stock. It's really caramelized down in there. Some of that seasoning has worked its way in, and it's a nice blend that you can just smell it in here. It smells like Thanksgiving with a little smoke. So what we're gonna do now is move these to a stock pot. So I've got a big stock pot out here, and we're just gonna unload this right into the stock pot, all of it. Let it rip. All right. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little white wine. Got some Chardonnay, the original house wine here in a can. Just gonna hit the bottom of this and just work off any of that extra foam that we've got attached to the sides here, because all that brown stuff stuck to that pan, that's our flavor, right? And the wine, it's a little acidic. It's gonna brighten up that stock just a little bit, and so it's really gonna help balance the flavors. But we're gonna get that all kind of worked off of there as much as we can and get that into our stock pot. All right, we got one more of these. As you can see, we got some nice color on that one as well. We're gonna get this right into our stock pot, just like that. And that's pretty full. That might even be a little too full, but we're gonna cover it in water and see where it goes. Gonna hit a little more wine into this one. Try to get it in the corners where we've got the little bit of caramelized goodness stuck on the pan there. Kind of collect some of that so it looks, and you can see that wine's picked up a little bit of that. Not too much stuck to the pan here, so we weren't cooking it at too high a heat. All right, we're gonna get that in there. All right. Now we're gonna finish up the rest of this white wine right on top. All right, so we got some water here. One thing I like to do is use purified water. I sometimes use it on my fridge through the fridge filter, or just plain bottled water in gallon jugs. Or I like this Kirkland Signature alkaline water, any kind of alkaline water. It's a 9.5 pH. It's just when you're reducing a stock, you keep reducing it over and over, and it's, especially when you reduce it down in the gravy with a roux, it starts to condense all of those impurities that are maybe in your water, and I would just prefer to have a nice clean water, and I think that it makes for a better pure stock. So I'm gonna pour these right on top of the chicken and the mirepoix and all that seasoning. We're just gonna cover it. Now, I've got this pan pretty full of chicken here, and so there's not gonna be a whole lot of space for extra water, so we're going to have to continue to add water to this as it cooks, but we're just gonna cover it for now, and we can come back and add water as it cooks. All right, took a couple of those. Now we're gonna move to the stove. All right, we've got the pot here on the stove. I'm gonna fire up the gas range here. Now we're gonna let it go on high, but in order to maintain a nice clear broth without any too much foam on the top and without it getting too cloudy, we're going to want to boil this really low. We're going to want to keep it on a simmer. So you got to watch that if you start on high. I like to try to get it started on high, but as that starts to boil, or just before, we're going to take that heat down. Now you can boil this for as little as a couple of hours and it'll be good to go, but the longer you boil it, the better. You could boil it overnight. The trick though is you've either got to have a big enough pan to have enough water over top of it that it doesn't boil down and run out of water, or you'll burn it, or you have to check it every so often and just continue to add water to it. But I'll let it go for several hours, maybe 3, 4, 5 hours, maybe longer, but I'll just let it simmer, and you can continue to taste, and you can season it maybe towards the end of your boil and make sure it's kind of where you want it. But I like to leave it not too seasoned, because then it's a little more versatile. If I want to add salt to it, I can, like for the gravy, but if I want to leave it kind of where it's at and then add seasoning to the composition, I can do that as well. So here we go, it's on the heat. We're gonna let it rip and come back and show you how it turns out. Okay, we are just about to boil here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give this a good stir. You can just see a couple bubbles popping up through it. I'm gonna give us a little stir, just get some of this top stuff worked around. Make sure it's all down in the water. And now I'm gonna reduce the heat. You can see foam starting to come to the top, so we're just gonna kill that down nice and low. I'm gonna throw in one more piece of sage, not too big again. I don't wanna make this too sagey and too green. Throw that on top. And I'm gonna hit it with another couple sprigs of thyme. About like that. Let that sit on top, maybe one more sprig of thyme. Let that sit on top as it starts to simmer. We'll let this go for a few hours, and we'll come back and show you how we strain out all the remnants of the mirepoix on the chicken and end up with our nice finished stock. And so we'll be back in a few hours. All right, so we're back here. The stock is reduced. We've got a nice finished product here. Although it could probably, there's still a lot left in these chicken parts and mirepoix. We could cover this in water again and let it boil another few hours and get some more goodness out of it. You don't have to, you can. It could have gone a little longer if you wanted as well. Again, it's really just up to you when you think the flavor's developed, but it's really nice and dark. So we'll show you what that looks like here. Let's take a look. This is the finished stock. As you can see, it's nice and dark. Good dark color. That's ready to go. You can make gravy. That's a good stock. That's ready for soup, whatever you want to use this for, or turkey stuffing. So what I'll do is I'll just pour some of this off here. We're gonna go straight into this jug or pitcher. Pour it right off like that. All right, good and full. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a two-step separation here, because if I go straight with the wire mesh strainer, it's gonna clog. So I like to go through this plastic pasta strainer first. So I run it right through here. This will take off some of the big stuff. Takes out those big chunks, right? So that's not plugging up my wire mesh one. So that can go back in our pot if we're gonna cover that again and let it boil again, which I probably will do. And this bowl will go right back into our pitcher here. And then we'll grab our wire mesh and we'll run it through here. Sometimes if I'm really wanting a nice refined gravy or stock, I'll run it through an even finer strainer, but that gets out pretty good particles there. So now it's pretty good and smooth. That again could go through a smaller one if you were really looking for a nice finished product. The other thing you can do is you can put it in a blender. If you got a Vitamix or something like that, you can really smooth out whatever you've got left in there if you feel the need to. But that's ready for me. That's good enough for especially turkey stuffing or your gravy. And so you can see how nice and dark that is. Now you'd never get it this nice and dark and rich and flavorful boiling your bones straight in your stock pot. So starting that on the smoker and caramelizing that and roasting it and getting a nice caramelized roasted flavor on it really helps develop that richness and luxurious mouthfeel that you want in a gravy. And it also makes a great soup. And we'll do some videos going forward that will show you exactly how you can use this in some other things. One thing I do like to use it in, and we'll just tease a video that's coming up here, is I like to make a turkey pot pie following Thanksgiving with the leftovers. And you can put whatever you like in it, but I'll usually make some extra pie crust or buy some extra frozen pie crusts if I don't have time to make it. And we'll make a 2-crust pie. So we'll put that pie crust in a pie tin, and then you can put whatever you've got left over. Generally, I'll use cut up turkey, some stuffing, some corn if there is some left. You can put cranberries in there if you'd like. You can also put mashed potatoes in there. Gotta take it easy in the mashed potatoes. It gets a little mushy if you put too much in, but you can put some in. And then I'll reduce my turkey stock that's left over and make another gravy out of it, and I'll cover it in gravy, and then I'll put a top crust on that. That's a great use for this turkey stock and all your leftovers. Then you bake that off in your smoker, and it makes a great leftover. that isn't just warmed over leftovers. It's a nice new dish that you can use your leftover stuff for. But here's the stock. So what I can do with this is I'll take it and I'll put it in the fridge. Some of the fat will rise to the top. I'll scrape that off and I'll reserve it to make a roux, and we'll show you that in our gravy video. But then once I've scraped that fat off, and it's cooled down nicely, it should congeal a little bit, and then I'll put that into a vacuum bag or even into a dish and pull a vacuum bag over it. I'll vacuum seal that and throw it in the freezer, and I'll make several bowls worth of that and keep that in my freezer so it's all ready to go for Thanksgiving. All I have to do is defrost it, make a roux, and make the gravy, and we'll show you how that process goes. But here's the finished stock, and it is delicious. It's almost worth eating right now the way it sits by itself. But some chunks of turkey and some noodles would make great turkey noodle soup. Variety of things you can do with this, but it's just a fantastic, easy way to get ahead of the game on your Thanksgiving preparation, so you don't have to fill all your oven space, all your smoker space the day of, and you've got plenty of gravy. Most people are using a few drippings left from their turkey, maybe a turkey neck and some gizzards, and they're whipping up some quick gravy. But I can have a volume of gravy here, so all my guests at Thanksgiving can use as much gravy as they like, and it's special gravy. It's not just Swanson's chicken broth with whatever turkey drippings you have left over. Now I will mix some turkey drippings from the Thanksgiving Day turkey in there just to enhance the flavor. All right, and this is our Thanksgiving turkey stock recipe. We hope you enjoyed this video. We hope that you take this recipe home and you try it on your Thanksgiving feast this coming Thanksgiving. We hope that you make it ahead so that it can take some of your work off your plate the day of Thanksgiving, and you can be ahead of the game so that you can really focus on that meat on Thanksgiving Day, and you can make perfect turkey on your smoker. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and ring that notification bell. Oh, and comment down in the comment section below here and tell us what you thought of the video, how the recipe worked for you, and what you'd like to see from our channel going forward. Thanks.